Yeah, that looks really weird.
Floating head. Got
It doesn't
it.
even have a neck.
It doesn't, no. I mean, how else would you record video with your head?
We
I don't know.
usually it's a camera.
It's a necklace thing.
You?
Very nice.
Very nice.
Jess, is the stream up on the website?
Oh, oh.
Yep, it's up there now.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know
Um,
what you want
Let
me
me
to do
get
about
close to
framing and
you.
stuff.
I would just zoom in some,
Yeah, we
Tony.
implemented
This is
clipping
weird,
for.
Okay, I'll put it kind of like in the middle of the room and see how that goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
look, there's
I'll let
the
you guys
big
go, but
Eden.
last thing is you may want to just check our website to make sure the audio and the video looks and sounds the way you want it, so we can adjust the camera for you if you like.
Okay. Where should I?
It's just spatialshape.com. It'll be right on the homepage.
Yeah, just FYI, right now the
Okay.
frame catches from within this pillar
What?
to
Tony, I think
this
maybe-
pillar over here. I can get even closer if you want to just capture this wall.
Tony,
Yeah,
can you repeat
get a
the
little
beginning
closer,
of that?
Tony.
That right now it's everything within that pillar and that pillar over there, but I can just get this wall instead.
Yeah, I think we need to
Zoom in on
be optimizing for the audio, and then the video will just be what it is.
Okay. Well, I think the video will still be good if they just stay on the stage.
Yeah, the audio I think it needs to be
Lucas.
quite a bit closer.
Lucas, stage left, stage right. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna check.
I think even another foot closer, Tony, for the audio.
Really? I mean, right now it's pretty great, I think.
You can't. They're not talking. How do you know?
Well, no. I'm just saying, like, that's, like, distance-wise, we're good. Like, if you're talking right now, that's the audio drop off.
Yeah, it's already starting to drop off. I can hear it.
Yeah.
So we want no drop off, I think. So I think we want it closer.
All right.
We want no drop. That should be good.
Stream looks good.
Stream looks okay.
Yeah, I think that's perfect
does.
right there, Tony.
Jess, you wanna do an audio test, Jess, and like make sure it sounds okay?
Yeah.
You want to? I don't know if you have any test patterns you can say. Like some random lines.
Ba-dum.
Like-
Ba-dum-ba-dum.
Like
Lucas is
Facebook
dum-dum.
ads are bad.
Unique
Facebook
New
ads
York.
are bad. Facebook ads
Unique
are
New
super
York.
bad. Let's
They're good for small businesses.
argue about it.
That's
Yeah.
what they say.
Yes, it's a
Let's make an
complex issue,
argument.
Lucas. You're correct.
I'm just saying what they say. I think
Yeah,
it's good for
you've-
small business.
You've assumed the lines of player B.
Oh god.
Lucas builds the
This is good. It does
future.
sound a little staticky,
Um,
kinda like it did a
Support
while
me on
ago.
Patreon.
It's not bad.
I think.
is this effective?
Oh, those are my lines.
Let me listen real quick. You hear me drop my controller?
I saw your hand fall through the ground.
Hey Zed, you're looking
There's
good.
some nice
Good
enthusiasm.
Hello,
moves,
friends.
Nice moves. Going on.
So, how much
Cool.
do you have a green beard in here in real life?
No. It looks about the same, but I wanted to change the color because of VR.
Okay, cool. Looks
'Cause
awesome
VR.
either way.
It does look awesome.
Do
Lucas,
you
even in VR, you
do you
can't
also
sit
not
still.
have like a torso or legs in real
Why do I
life?
sit still? It's boring.
No, neither of us have bodies in real life. It's tough. It's definitely tough.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just strapped to a chair.
Like Futurama style heads in jars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Just like
no,
that.
but like I'm strapped to like a gamer chair with no legs or arms or torso.
So is this like you guys are doing another podcast here, right?
We are. We haven't quite started yet. We're starting in a minute, but we'll be here every Thursday. I'll be here every Thursday. Lucas will not.
Very cool.
Unless he wants to be. It's up to him, really. What's your name? Yes, you.
Said. Did you not see it?
I can, but you know,
Oh.
like people have. Oh, he went over there. People have like
Sorry,
their
what was that?
usernames.
Ooh.
People have their usernames and then they have their names. So I'm not always sure.
That's true. Is your name Max?
It is.
Nice. I mean, that's okay. And is your real last name Noir?
So neither of them are my real
Wait.
names. I have
Oh,
at one point I completely rebranded myself, so I don't use either of my legal names anymore until they become.
that's fair.
my
I mean,
legal
Zed's not
names.
my legal name either, but
But it's your
Yeah.
chosen name.
exactly.
Cool. Well,
Um,
great to meet you, Zed.
likewise. I usually try to come Thursdays, so maybe I'll see you around.
Yeah, I think we will. I'll be here every Thursday, so I'm sure I'll see ya.
Cool. How long have you been? Oh,
I just teleported. Sorry.
that's cool.
You said how long have you...
Been like podcasting and doing interviews and stuff.
So I started this show, Lunch Hour VR, a little bit over a year ago. It was like right before COVID started. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's super cool.
How long have you been coming to the Spatial Ape show?
I think this is my second week, so not very long yet.
Okay. Are you planning on coming every week?
I just got a quest, actually, partially to be able to come to this show.
Very
Hey,
nice.
Max?
Yes?
Are we gonna be on at 1 p.m. or now?
No, and like in the next minute, we're just restarting that real quick. We had an audio issue,
Okay.
and then you should
I'm
be
gonna
good to
have
go.
restart as well. It looks like there's a bug when you leave the Guardian, the app that never
Huh.
reloads. So 1 second.
Oh. Yeah, weird. I can hear Lucas, but I can't see
Yeah,
him.
but I only see darkness. I'm stuck in complete darkness. Nothing works.
Hey, so I don't hear the audio issue on my end. I just altered the audio outputs on OBS. Maybe that
Oh, it's
fixed it. But it sounds really good on my end.
I can't even load the
Sounds good on the
screen. I'm
stream
gonna have
for
to
you,
restart
Tony?
the headset.
Yeah, I checked
Um,
the stream too.
This would be a minute, guys.
Maybe you're.
Okay.
Hello, test 1, 2.
Okay, so Max, here's the deal. Everything seems to be working okay, but we're having a bit of an issue with the audio where it just sounds slightly compressed, maybe. It's hard to figure out. And the reality is I don't think we're going to be able to improve it in the next few minutes. So,
Is it both
Yeah.
of us, or is it just me?
it seems to be like the recording coming from the stream. I mean, you can listen to it. It's like totally, you can hear it and totally listen to it. But like, you just wanted to give you a warning. Like, you may end up being like, I don't want to publish this,
Okay.
which
It's the
I
first
know is
show.
essentially
work
worst
through
case scenario. But yeah,
It's all good. It's all good. We work with what we have. We'll improve for next week.
yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks for being understanding. And if you don't end up publishing it because it doesn't sound great, that would be totally understandable for us or promote it at all.
No worries. I feel like a little bit of audio enhancement could potentially do the trick, but I haven't listened to it myself, so we'll see.
Well, fortunately, you have someone you know well on here anyways, so it's not too big a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so is it both of us coming through the stream strangely? Just everything.
It's just ever so slightly. There's a controversy in our team whether or not something's even wrong, but yes.
All right. Well, if
Yeah.
that's the case, then I think personally I'll find it to be okay, but we'll see.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, well, we'll let you guys just do your thing then.
Cool. Just
Also, I really
you
like the
wanna count us
UI you
down?
guys built.
Thanks,
Real
man.
nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
If you finish up your show and have any suggestions for us, we're all ears.
Beautiful.
That was me doing thumbs up.
Cool.
Cool. Are we good to go? All right, I'm gonna go with yes.
Yes.
So, hey everybody, you've attended the very, very, very first version of Lunch Hour VR in the Spatial App Trade Show. So, thank you so much for being at the first show in Spatial Ape. We really appreciate you being here, and we're going to be here every single Thursday at 12:30 PST. So, we hope to see you again next time. And I have an exceptionally special guest today. He is he is my best friend. He is my partner. He is the builder of futures, mad scientist in virtual reality, Lucas Rizzotto. Thank you so much for being here. And how are you?
Hi, I'm doing fantastic. Especially, you know, it's hot girl summer or hot daddy summer, whatever your summer may be, and it's really nice to be here. It's my first time in Spatial Ape, so it's been quite the journey.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for anyone who might be watching and hasn't heard of your work yet. What are you all about? What have you done? What are you currently working on? Whatever you'd like to share with us.
So I am a creative technologist. I specialize in futuristic tech, but most of my creations have been in virtual and augmented reality. And I built everything from games to apps to experiments that I think are absurd and that somebody has to build them. So I've released a game called Where Thoughts Go on the Oculus Quest. I've made a virtual reality time machine after spending an entire year wearing a camera on my face so we can use the time machine to go back and relive moments from my past. And a number of other crazy experiments that I've documented in my YouTube channel, Lucas Builds the Future. So I make stuff, and I make stuff that I think is cool and that should be made, but for some reason people aren't making.
So let's dive more into your time machine. Clearly a time machine is sort of like a complicated niche type of invention that you can sort of bring into technological society. So how did you make that happen? How did you go about doing that?
Well, I've one of the ways I like to approach projects and ideas is try to think of things that are impossible and that we understand collectively as impossible, and try to find an angle in which they become real possibilities. So a time machine is something that I think everybody has wish that they could have access to at some point, but that we've just ruled out as impossible. So I was like, okay, but really time machines are two things. Number one, it's a device that lets you go back in time, and number two, it's a device that lets you change time and create parallel dimensions. So really a time machine is two things, and out of those two things, going back is entirely possible. It's the creating dimensions, the creating new parallel timelines part that's like beyond the realm of possibility. So I focused on that, and I looked at the hardware that we had that exists with the Snapchat glasses and these other cameras you can wear on your head. And I was like, okay, there's enough here. I can spend an entire year recording my life and build a time machine interface in VR that lets me go back and re-experience my past. And I think this getting things we assume are impossible and finding an angle you can execute them with futuristic technologies is a really fun thing to do that people haven't been doing as much, surprisingly.
So what drove you to do that? That seems like a very, one might consider that to be a very hard idea to sort of develop and decide to jump forward and dive into. So what brought you, what intrigued you or inspired you to do that?
I just thought it was a powerful concept and that it warranted exploration. And it's one of those things that because you can't make like a multi-million-dollar startup out of it right now, because to make something like this viable, you just need so much money in hardware and software. And because it's not something you can turn into a company, I knew that like nobody would actually do this idea in a way that does it justice. So I saw a gap that needed filling. I saw something cool that needed to be built, and no one was building it, and I built it. And I also saw in this a project that could generate conversation and a project that could change how people look at VR, which to me is important. It's important to make things that change how people understand the medium, because this is how you have progress. This is how this is how you know you're moving the industry forward. Rather, if I show you another zombie shooter, that's not going to change much. Maybe you have a cool mechanic, the way you deal with health, but it doesn't change your perspective on the world. But the Time Machine could, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I made it.
How did it change your perspective on the world?
Ooh. Well, there's something really crazy that happens when you relive your own memory, especially in virtual reality. And that is, you get to watch yourself from a third person perspective. You get to see yourself as an outsider. And that gives you a lot of interesting opportunity for introspection. You get to look at yourself under a different light. And with a way less scrutiny, I might add. It's like you're way less harsh on yourself when you just watch yourself being yourself as like a separate person. So it was a really useful tool for me to learn more about myself, how I operated. But it made me realize how much of our lives we forget, because almost all of our memories, almost like all of the things that happen to us, we forget them. We can recall what we did yesterday, but most of the memories of even things that haven't yet happened yesterday are gone and gone forever. And being able to go back and relive things that I thought were meaningful to me, but that I had forgotten completely, was particularly shocking, and it made me try to appreciate not just life more, but try to appreciate the day-to-day moments that I know are special to me, but that I'll probably forget forever. So it was big for a fun side project. It led to a lot of really strong personal growth, but I think that that's what separates the worthwhile projects from the ones that anybody else can make.
Right. Could you give us an example of maybe one of the memories that sort of really stood out to you and provoked this idea that we do forget most of the things that happen to us, especially when they're some of our most important memories?
Right. Well, it's honestly what got to me. There were bigger moments and bigger memories, but what got to me were just the small interactions I had with strangers on the street that weren't a big deal at all, but they made me feel so happy the moment they happened. When you just have a really nice interaction with someone you for like 20 seconds, just a random stranger that was just so nice, and it just fills you with joy. But because that memory wasn't particularly explosive, you just forget it. And then you watch the news and you go like, oh, the world is falling apart, and you become super cynical of humanity. I forget so much of those tiny interactions that actually bring me a lot of hope. And I wish I didn't. I wish I could keep those, tabbed up, so whenever I get too cynical about the future, I can just remember that those people exist. But to me, it was, those small interactions, those little things that are meaningful the moment they happen, but they're not explosive enough that they become like a permanent memory.
Got it. And when you made your Time Machine video, were you expecting to create the Lucas Builds the Future YouTube series, or was this sort of like a project that then snowballed into a much bigger, let's call it a movement?
Yes. So here's the thing. VR and AR, futuristic technologies in general, but especially VR and AR, there's so many things you can do right now because there's not a lot of money and a lot of people and not a lot of talent in it yet. So you can either do two things. You can just experiment a lot and make things that make no money and go bankrupt and possibly die alone, or you can spend 2-3 years on a project that you can commercialize and sell. Well, I did the second one once with my app called Where Thoughts Go, and it was really gratifying, but spending 2 to 3 years on a project alone to me was exhausting, and I wanted to do the experimentation of building lots of interesting projects that are like really interesting, but find a way to make that sustainable. So that's where the show came in. I built a time machine trying to create a framework for me to deliver these experiments and deliver these demos that can't be commercialized, but maybe if you focus on the story, you can distribute those experiments in a way that's relatable, and capitalize on them later. So when I built the time machine, I wanted to test this model, and I wanted to see, like, okay, what happens when I focus on the story and creating a story that's really compelling first, and the app second. And if I make it a show, will it be something that people are interested in? Will it be something that they are willing to watch? And would it be something that will make people like donate me money to keep doing? So I always had a plan, basically. I always hoped that it would work. And I've thought about doing this for a very long time. But the time machine, especially with COVID, was the thing that kicked it into gear.
So tell us a little bit about the journey you've taken and maybe a little bit about where you're at now, including some of your successes and failures in accomplishing that goal.
Ooh, that's a big question, Max. I think you're going to have to narrow down to like particular phases. But yeah, where do you want me to start? Like, is this like personal life? Is this like how I got into VR and AR?
I guess in terms of like Lucas Builds the Future and maybe where you started at versus where you are today and how you're feeling about this being like a goal to fulfill for the long term and something that's going to be sustainable that also makes you happy to do as a job.
Right, yeah, because I guess Lucas Builds the Future is also me trying to create my own job, because there's no there's no such thing as like somebody who builds like prototypes of futurist technology full time for YouTube. That's not a job that exists. I mean, you can do experiments for Facebook, but they'll never see the light of day for the most part. So it's been really challenging, and consistently in my life, I make these decisions that most of the people in my life tell me not to do. When I told people that I was like not making indie games anymore and I was going to do indie projects for YouTube, nobody thought it was a good idea except like maybe one or two people. So it's been challenging, especially because the first one did so well. The Time Machine went super viral on Reddit, like millions and millions of views there. And the other projects that I've done, which are more and more deeper into the AR VR niche, AR niche especially, which are things that I think are really important, they didn't get as much visibility. So I was starting to get worried because I would spend like 3 months on these videos, and when I would post them, they get like 10,000 views, which is not terrible, but it's not sustainable, or at least that's what I thought. Because even though the viewership was 10, 20, 30,000 views for the new projects that I've been working on, the Patreon support I've been getting is consistent. So people are, with every video I release, people donate me more money to keep going. And that's when I realized that it's like, if you're catering to a niche, and if people are really passionate about the niche, you don't really need millions of views to survive anymore. People will have you think that, and if you're like a general audience influencer, or like your live stream games, maybe you do need millions of views. But if you have a small audience or a niche of 100 people who I'm trying not to swear, who freaking love what it is that you do, they will pay you to do it. So that's what I was saying. Failure. In terms of failure, I think the views of my last projects were not what I anticipated, especially with the first one going super viral. But I think it will work eventually. And I found, through that failure, I found out that if you cater to a niche and if you build something that 100 people love, that's the greatest foundation you can ever have.
Cool. So I understand that like maybe your original goal was to make this series and to make it financially sustainable and also cater to your interests and your passions. Are you finding that there are sort of some cross sections and then maybe you're getting some business opportunities or such that are
Yes.
coming because of the series but are also outside of the series?
Yes. Here's the thing: when you create projects and you put yourself out there, and people start to see what it is that you do, you attract all kinds of like-minded people. So one of the interesting byproducts of making this series is that it's really there's lots of creative agencies that come to me and they want me to work on projects for them, and it seems that long term, if I keep doing this for 2-3 years, I'll have a lot of influx of like clients and work and projects I can pick up for others, because I really start to establish myself as like this futuristic creative figure. So yeah, when you make things and you put them out there, things start happening, things that you don't never thought could happen. And that is why it's really important to always be sharing your progress, to always be posting stuff out there, to always be sharing your work, rather than like work in secrecy and stealth mode for several years and then crossing your fingers and hoping it all works out for the best. Because you don't know the opportunities that you're missing. You don't know the opportunities that you did not expect you could be getting, and you need to be open to that. You need to be open to that those randomness aspects of life. So yeah, it's very important to put yourself out there and to get seen and to do what it is you're all doing, which is like being here and being seen. I'm talking about the people who are in Spatial Ape. If you're watching the stream, you should be here. You should be letting things happen to you. Yeah, those are some of it.
Awesome. So that in itself was already some advice, but are there any insights or bits of advice that you may be able to provide the audience on how to sort of take your passion and take your dream and turn it into a job and something that you can say, I love doing this on a daily basis?
Right. Well, I like to live. I've established my philosophy. This may sound nonsensical, but the way that I think of it is like I think about money all the time, so I never have to think about it at all. And in the sense is like every time I'm making a decision, I'm always thinking about monetization in the background, but like very lightly. It never overrides my creative pursuit. So it's always like I do what I want to do first, but I always try to figure out like, but okay, how can I have some form of financial plan behind this? So with Lucas Builds the Future show, it's like, okay, let's make sure that I have a patron from the get-go, and that I reach out to people who are my friends and I try to get them to support me, and let's figure out the whole ad monetization thing, like what's going to be your deal here. And so yeah, always thinking about it and try to be pragmatic, try to unite pragmatism with your dream and what it is that you want to do, and realize that sometimes you will have to make a multi-year plan to achieve said thing. It does not happen instantaneously. I understand you can't flick your for me to get in the position that I am now, it was many years of work, many years of planning. I switched from doing WordPress websites for a living to buying myself a HoloLens when it was like all the money that I had, and then teaching myself so I could move from websites to doing mixed reality apps. And then eventually I had enough contract clients that I could just, start doing my own stuff. And then eventually I stopped getting contracts and I only did my stuff full time. So you need to see how these things connect, how you can move yourself up to a position of more and more freedom. I guess that's the way you have to put it. Yeah. Always make sure that you're moving in a direction in which your life you have increasingly more freedom, and sometimes that is changing the way you do your job. Sometimes that is quitting a job. Sometimes it is moving somewhere. It depends, but yeah, set a multi-year plan. Try to make sure you're always moving in the direction that you want to move. Take your time and don't settle.
I appreciate that advice, and I also want to ask you this pink thing. I also want to ask you, how do you feel about the VR, AR/XR industry as a whole, and how people are sort of supporting artists and indie developers as compared to other industries? Do you feel supported? I guess is what I want to ask you.
I do. I feel overwhelmingly supported, and it's yeah, it's it makes me happy. It makes me upset. It makes me many things. It's the community is very tight, and the industry at large, it's in a complicated space, especially with the Oculus monopoly and how they're basically pricing everybody out of business. But there is a core community of people who care, who do understand that VR AR is the future of computing, and that we need those individual minds that are outside the corporate mindset to drive the whole space into somewhere we think is more not just more sustainable, but more interesting and more beneficial for everybody involved. So I do feel supported, and there are, once people break into this niche, and you only need a year or two to have everybody, most people know you. Just make some stuff, put it out there, and go to conferences. Now that COVID's over, once you go to all of the major VR conferences for 2 years, everybody pretty much already knows you, and yeah, I do feel supported. The VR industry is in a weird place right now. I haven't been excited about VR AR as much as far as like what other people are building, just because I haven't been seeing a lot of interesting ideas anymore. Maybe it is that I just have been this industry for a little bit too long now. By too long, I mean like 3-4 years. So it's a weird spot, but there are things that can be made. There's still so much untouched creative potential, and so many things that I want to build in VR and AR alike, but VR especially as well. So there's a lot of creative juice out there that's being unexplored, and that gets me excited, even if some of the aspects of the industry right now are a little bit messy. So I'm optimistic. I'm bored right now by VR a little bit, but very optimistic because there's so many things we could be doing that are so interesting and so fun and so bizarre.
So I want to ask you
We
one.
will do eventually.
I want to ask you one last question, and then I actually want to open it up to the audience, where we'll take 2 questions. But what can we expect from you moving forward? What can we expect to see from you in the near future?
Right, I'm working on several projects right now. One thing I'm doing this year is that I'm also opening up my own creative approach. So I'm not going to just be doing VR and AR anymore. I have a bunch of projects in the realm of AI, brain-computer interfaces, and even food tech that I'm going to be working on in the next year and a half. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and do crazy projects with futuristic tech and try to find things that are interesting and thoughtful, and show how these technologies actually will affect us as human beings, which is really important to me. It's really the humanity aspect at the forefront. So, but I also have a VR title I'm releasing this year. It's really dumb. No one asked for it. I'm very proud of it, and it's going to be out sometime in the next couple of months. I think everybody's definitely going to hear about it when it comes out, because it's sort of like controversial. But that's what I'm saying. It's like there haven't been even like, I don't even see VR controversies, which I think should be happening, because there's so many crazy things you can explore with this medium. And if we're not having controversies about weird content coming out that like poses interesting questions, then we're really not creatively exploring it enough. So lots of more Lucas Builds the Future. I love this format, and I love this show, and I have lots of projects that I want to do in other futuristic areas of tech, but I'm still a VR AR creator at heart, and I'm still going to be posting new VR stuff, especially to my Patreon supporters. So if you like my stuff, support me on Patreon. It's literally where most of my income comes from. And yeah, I'm going to be sharing more and more goodies on Patreon, like source codes of projects and stuff.
Very nice. Well, you heard it here first. Probably not first, but guys, we have time for 2 questions. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll
Yes.
try to get to you. I can't see
We
everybody.
got
at
Zed.
once. We got Zed. Zed, what's your question?
So I haven't seen the Time Machine video, and I'm probably going to go watch that later. That sounds awesome. But you were talking before about reviewing the years worth of footage. And I was wondering, like, how much of that have you actually watched? Like, how many hours do you think you've gone through?
So I really just scrubbed through it very quickly, and every time something visually interesting would pop up. Wait, so here's the thing. There's me watching the footage before the time machine and after it was done. After it was done, I used it for about 4.5 hours, and then I never used it again, actually. I got tons of growth, but it's one of the things that I learned is that it was awesome to connect with my past like that, but after a couple hours in the time machine, all I wanted to do was to live the present and build more memories instead of just reminiscing in those recorded memories from the past. But for the video, there's many points in the video in which I just show raw memories, and I selected them really by just scrubbing through the entire year, and whenever something visually interesting would pop out, I would just flip it, just add a little marker, and that's how you pragmatically scrub through a year's worth of footage. But yeah, I actually didn't use the time machine that much. I only used it enough that I felt like I got my growth, and once it was reaching diminishing returns, I stopped and never touched it again.
Thank you, Zed. And we have time for one more question if you want to raise your hand.
Yeah, we got a boy over there.
Go ahead.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Lucas, so I'm a big fan. So awesome work you're doing there, and it's really
Thanks,
great
buddy.
to see you here on the show. Amazing. I wanted to ask you on the creative process that you have. You mentioned you attach some monetary value to it, which I like a lot, the notion of that. What's your point when you say, okay, I have so much time budget allocated for a project, and if it doesn't work, I stop and I cut? What's your process there? How do you proceed on those ideas? Because I think it's really relevant for all the brainstormings, for all the people creating prototypes and so on.
Right. So I'm still figuring out the time bit. It's I don't do projects fast enough. I think I'm too slow. I mean, for the past year, I've posted a total of 4 videos and 4 projects, and it's really cool that it got the visibility it did, considering the size, the amount of content. But I should be making these faster, and I don't set a time budget. I really don't. I take as much time as it's required for it to be good, and because I think, to me, the biggest regret would be to be ashamed of what I create, more than oh, this took even 2 extra months. I would rather spend 2 extra months and be something that I'm proud of for the rest of my life, than it's just post it too quickly. But I do try not to repeat mistakes. So what I'm trying to do is look at my previous projects, find out okay, these aspects of the project are taking way too much time. How can I do better in the next one? And then I just try to do the one faster than the previous, and I look at it and I was like, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And with this new one, one of the things I realized is that every single second of my video is just so crazily highly edited. It's just insane. It's like the whole video doesn't have to be like that. I need to sprinkle that, in between those crazy, highly edited sequences. I need to have just a little bit of myself talking to the camera. But that's what I'm doing with the one right now, and it's moving so much faster. So it's really, I'm less about setting strict rules for each one, and more about trying to do it better than last time, every single time. And if you just keep doing that with every project, you're just trying to do better than last time, you will move in the correct direction. But yeah, I have attempted to do strict guidelines of, I have a month to do this, and every time I attempt it, I fail because I prioritize having something I'm proud of over my own rules. So yeah, that's the thing, I guess, with being a rule breaker, is that you break your own rules as well, and that can be exhausting. But yeah, I haven't answered about the creative process of the projects, which was something you posted in the beginning, but it's really trying to do things that I think are exciting or hilarious, primarily, but also have a lot of hidden meaning and depth underneath. there's plenty of people on YouTube who do stupid projects, and they are funny because they're stupid. Like Michael Reeves, his stuff is hilarious, and it's really amazing. But there's no real depth to it. You learn nothing from it. There's nothing. You gain nothing from watching the content other than laughs. And I'm trying to make projects that look ridiculous at first, but when you look closer, they show you like a new dimension and a new perspective on humanity and on yourself. So that's I try to find things that are exciting but also meaningful, and that is one of the things that I guess most people don't understand about the creative process. Because a lot of the suggestions that people make to me are exciting, but they have like no depth to them at all. And out of all the ideas you have, because usually, all the ideas I'm working on right now are ideas I had a year and a half ago, and they've been just stewing in my head for a very long time, is trying to be real about which of the ideas are the simplest and most elegant. Because very often you have, I have a project that I really want to do, but it's so fucking complicated, and I'm like, I should prioritize the ideas that are just simple and elegant and easy to make, because really, elegance is a big thing in design. And if you focus on the thing, and they are usually the most mature ideas, because if you made something complicated and you synthesize it into something very simple that you can execute rather efficiently, it means the idea is mature and elegant. So you should prioritize those in your creative process. But yeah, which is not to say don't do complicated things, but try to look at all the ideas you have and go and look at the ones that are like, this one's just simpler. I should just do this one first.
Mm-hmm. So looking forward to what you're coming up next with. Cool.
Yeah, me too. I think it might be better than the Time Machine video, but it's too early to tell.
What video
Well, we
software
shall
do you
see.
use for cutting?
Oh, Premiere Pro, but I don't recommend it. I hate it every day. I'm a slave to it.
All right, guys. Well, unfortunately, we are officially out of time, but I want to thank everybody for coming to the inaugural Lunch Hour VR show in Spatial Apes trade show. Thanks for coming, guys. We're going to be here every single Thursday, 12:30 PST. I'm really stoked to see you all here, and yeah, thanks for joining us both.
It's a really nice crowd. I'm going to be out here answering some questions, and be sure to check out Max Noir's Patreon. This is a really good show, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks, Lucas. Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah,
Thank
check out
you, guys.
Spatial Ape. Seems like a
Thank you very much
awesome trade
for
show,
hosting this.
so-
Thank you. That was really interesting.
Absolutely. So I'll see you all here next Thursday, I hope.
Cool.
And cut.
You still need the camera, or
Yeah, Tony's the camera.
oh, gotcha.
Is there like a giant pink thing for everyone else, or is that just me?
A giant pixie.
You'll probably have to re-enter.
It's just me then, huh? Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you quit the app and come back in, then it might go away.
All right. Yeah, it came in like the middle of the show, and it's very distracting.
Oh, it might be somebody's
It's
hands.
like this
no?
moving model.
Yeah, there's a bug where part of your hand just goes off into infinity.
But I think they only do it for people on stage. Yeah.
It was very convenient. It showed up in the middle, and I was like, "What is
Yeah.
going on? Just keep your composure."
Just- Yeah. The show must
No
go
idea.
on.
Yeah.
The show must go on always.
But you managed perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, I'm so
Poor
glad.
Tony.
I'm so glad. It's still happening, actually. It's following me. It's like actually
Did you get
following
bad dreams
Have,
me.
out of
have
that
you
today?
seen this
Like
before the
exorcism.
show today, I wonder?
No. I think Lucas probably brought some sort of possessed being.
It
here
was
with
the
him.
controversial thing he was
God.
talking about.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's his new project.
No, yeah, I haven't caught up with my Exorcist in a while. Demon.
Ghost in the machine.
You're blaming me for a lot of things today, Max.
Speaking of
Just another
Exorcist,
day.
Robin's head was floating off here.
Oh yeah,
Really?
that's probably my demon.
You're losing your head.
All right, are we gathering in the center?
Yeah, maybe.
I think so.
Let's go.
X Fate. Wait, stop moving.
Lucas?
Stop moving. Stop moving.
Ew.
What?
That's so creepy.
I was not meant to be creepy. I wanted to just
Your
do a
head
little
just
nose
turned
rub.
straight around.
Bobo, I think I have to go and work. Is that okay?
Wait, the pink thing just walked away. It was definitely a person.
Stuff, kind of cool in that way. So that's definitely been like a big draw for it.
Cool.
Hey, Smartest, did you just crash or did you just leave on your own?
I just lost connection.
You lost connection.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. See, or where did Tony go? He was right there. Yeah, so we like.
Sorry,
Oh,
buddy.
here you are, Tony. So I think some learnings here on our new approach on the networking. I think, like, I've been disconnected once when I don't think I ordinarily would have been. So I think we have a trade-off where like we caught the really bad bug, but there's also probably times in the old paradigm when you were losing connection briefly without even realizing it, and now that's causing basically a session exit, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't
Interesting.
think
So it's
I
like
had
we
that.
may want it to
pop
have
up
like a
before.
that triggers after a certain time of being disconnected or something like that.
Well, there's really no way to go about it because if you lose connection, the server has nowhere to put you other than in this like bizarro world crash state or somewhere else. Because if you're not connected to the server, then the server's like, well, that person doesn't exist. So the client has to have some sort of fallback. Potentially.
Question
Yeah,
for you,
Richard.
Tony. Are you sorry
Hi,
to interrupt you,
Richard.
but you also up there in the sky? There's like two of you.
Yeah,
That's the camera.
that's
That's the,
we're
that's the
live streaming.
camera. Okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Tony's got like a little god figure floating around up there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tony and I are both on the team building this. If you hadn't picked up
Oh,
on that,
right.
Tony's our lead engineer, so we're just kind of like dissecting some of the new issues that
course.
we tend to produce with our
Yeah.
new builds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is my fifth connection
Um,
this evening, so we'll see how it goes.
Meaning,
I keep getting booted out.
oh really? You've been booted
Yeah.
out 5 times today.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Interesting.
Yeah, see, Tony, I reject your premise because what I'm saying is that we're having more disconnects now than normal,
I'm actually helping
which could only be
out,
possible if they were already happening, but not
build this
triggering.
space and
consequences
market it and
previously.
make these events. So I'm in charge of kind of coordinating who comes
okay,
in and
well-
puts booths up
well,
and
So that's. I mean, we're not going to
all
solve
the
it now. I
event
just
stuff
wanted
and the
to.
marketing and outreach
Yeah,
and all
I mean, I
that
think the
fun
alternative
stuff.
is it's because so Mirror has this functionality built in for free
Did you take a look at the stuff?
where it has
Oh,
an
what stuff?
offline scene that you can.
Like I went
provide
around
it.
and looked at some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about this later because I'm going to go
There's
meet
like a
some new people
workout
that-
one.
Yeah, I looked at
Yeah,
it.
I don't know.
I came in at like
Sounds good.
quarter to.
Talk to Richard
One
about
to check stuff.
volumetric
Nice.
capture because
So you're probably
sounds really cool.
Yeah.
been here for a while.
yeah.
Richard, we
Yeah.
actually
For
had,
VR time.
we brought, do you know Arcturus?
Yeah,
Are you
VR
familiar with
time
them?
is
Indeed,
different,
we
yeah.
know them. You guys had a sequence in here,
Yeah.
yes.
Ooh,
15
someone-
seconds ran.
I don't know.
Yeah, we
But it was
brought it
on
in. It was.
The
I mean, it
Leuven
was.
talked non-stop while they
Maybe.
presented.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was
Yeah,
weird.
it's
It
not
was
spatial
very
art,
primitive,
Yeah,
but
I
that
think
concept was
it's
cool. I
most
think.
peaceful.
You know, it's still
Right.
Yeah, I think
so
that
it is a bit
they
Anyways, all right, I'll be right
come
back.
to
You're the
whatever
main-
it is
one of the
the
main
time
There's a
First
floating
Trying
head
it
up
out.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up,
there.
guys? Welcome in.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
hey,
the
oh,
camera, I
I'm
think.
glad
So
I
they
did.
like
really
post
awesome
it.
bringing
Yeah.
that in.
And,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
that's
remember.
cool.
Have
whatever
we
you
spoke
wanna-
before? I can't
so
remember, buddy.
you
Hey,
wanna
Usually
about,
there's, like,
like,
people
I'm not
walking
sure where I
around
saw
and
it
stuff.
in the
It's
stream,
great.
but in
Um,
about 5
wonder
minutes,
when
do you have your in your bio? What game are you working on?
Oh.
get kicked
Oh,
off.
you're,
and
crazy.
we'll
you
go
guys
to their
together?
booth
You
and
guys
do a little
together from
presentation
MIT?
on
Yeah,
whatever
Jesse
they're
told me
working
about
on.
it.
Yeah, so
Whatever
did you
you
get a chance to
wanna
look
come
up
in
in
here
the-
and present.
Yeah,
stuff
right.
during
I guess
our
there's
main
different
event.
And,
stuff in here
do you have a booth
now.
set up
I
today,
came
or are
in
you just
earlier just to,
mingling?
like I said, to
Oh,
I have your
make
sound
sure I could
coming
get
and
in.
going. The
You
words are
probably
coming
saw
and going.
last week's stuff. Then.
Yeah, I think.
Last week's
Huh,
stuff.
I wonder what
but-
the issue
Yeah.
is. It might be me.
It's like the people who
Yeah,
made
so we
things are like
usually do
in their
about
booths.
4
That's
per
better now,
week,
yeah.
Laning it or
every
just
day
like
we'll
walking
change
around?
it out.
Yeah,
Usually,
that's what I was
like when
saying.
it starts,
New
they'll
for it, and
get
they'll
feels
up
to
in
me
the
like
middle
it's
and
very
sort of,
expensive
that
to
week.
have a bit of
volume,
a
get a
project and
volumetric
then
capture
take
of
off.
yourself.
Definitely.
But I guess
for
for
In terms of
regular
like
first
uh,
hour.
bandwidth, or in terms of dollars, or in terms
Yeah,
of
it's kind of
Dollars,
cool.
yeah,
Like
dollars. Like if
Yeah.
I wanted
Oh,
to get
yeah,
myself
well,
Whatever-
your avatar was
whatever you
floating
wanna
off
do it.
into the
it
distance.
really depends the quality level you want
Feel
to
free
do.
to,
Um,
Yeah, there's some
the thing
interesting-
is, if you're working
but
with
it's still-
professionals,
Yeah.
I just found out today they're actually doing
then
podcasts in here as
a
well.
lower
We're,
quality
like,
capture
recording one
will
before it
work
started.
once because it's kind of
what's
new
the
and
game
sort
that
of
you're
way.
working on?
exciting because it's so innovative. But
Right.
after that, there'll be very people.
Is it
So,
people
podcast
who are
like people talking about just, like,
image
what they're
conscious
making?
will soon
Like,
think, oh, wait a minute, I'm not looking as good as I want to look, and so you have to
Yeah.
go with a high quality image. I mean, if you're doing it just you
when
and
are you
me,
going
and
to,
whatever,
Gainsborough?
that we could do it with a laptop and a couple of cameras. and
The
it would be
25th.
clunky, but it
right
would
on my
certainly
birthday.
work. But as soon as you want to
Yeah,
do
nice.
professional stuff, it
Just
won't
for, like,
work more than
one
once or twice with a
is-
low quality
I've
image
seen
because
that.
people
Yeah.
are
I haven't
Is it
played it,
nice?
but
most
I've
of what they
seen
have
it.
is
Have you been a lot or?
their image.
This is gonna be
I
my
know when
third
Arcturus
time.
was here, they talked a little bit about doing
It's
like
just- it's, like,
one
not too
capture,
far,
and
and
then
it's,
they like actually rig
kind
up
of
that
a
model, and you can like
pretty chill,
use it
low
to
key getaway.
do all sorts of different stuff with it,
Yeah.
which I thought was
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Ocean
And I don't know what I haven't
Sort of.
seen any real examples
Yeah,
of that.
definitely.
Like anyone actually like
Okay.
have you
one
been?
static scan and then have that model
no,
like move
no,
around in
but,
space.
a friend of
But
mine's from
have
there.
you tried
Yeah.
that?
I think I
Oh,
mentioned he's.
We have tried that,
lives in the
and
States.
I haven't.
I think
I
he
don't know
kinda
how
wanted
well
to
they.
escape.
We do know that I have
a
to.
little bit. So he wasn't
But
like super praising of it.
Our
but,
experience is
and I
that
think if you're not from Sweden,
Cool.
it's probably
Fixed.
place.
Wait, where?
I
Oh,
just-
there.
That totally makes
Yeah.
sense.
Gotta keep
Standing
losing
upright.
keep losing track of you.
Yes. I need,
No, I think
need to
your
actually-
connection's dropping out a lot.
I need to
bit.
move
You're
my
kinda
body
teleported.
in
How
real life.
That's beyond me.
Gotta-
That's the
need
wires
to,
of the
like,
internet.
In my living room right now, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
You
to
tried
a
to
different
imprison
room.
No internet.
Base-
They tried.
They,
I don't know if I have to log out.
We don't think you can get very
that.
far with that approach.
No, you probably
We
just
think
have
it
to
does
reset you.
very quick.
Yeah.
If you stretch things, don't look.
I think I have
Yeah.
to reset my
But
guardian.
yeah, they
Someone
look
can
unnatural.
be very excited
Yeah,
and
and
very
you know, I
terrified.
know
I think he'll drop.
put it away.
Facebook's doing a bunch of research into that. in
I'll
terms
find
of,
out.
like,
If-
their
if-
avatar
if I
systems,
disappear,
and
then
Facebook Labs have
Yeah.
some
Well, you know where to
really,
find us.
it'd be awesome if true videos of their avatars and
This is kind of
how
how
they, they
Interesting.
render them
Yeah, kind
live.
Imagine multiplayer
forward to
Sub
it.
How do you guys
with,
handle
oh,
Yeah,
that'd be
the
nice.
same
cards.
game.
Oh, that'd be,
For
that'd be
volumetric.
something.
Like
put
we
it
have a
that way.
Unity plugin. Our stuff comes as a
I
standard
feel like
Unity
the
asset.
go-to is always make
You
one
can
person
stream
the
a single
image,
person in
the
about
other,
2 megabytes per
make her-
second.
That's
What
cool.
can you guys
I
handle
what's
in
that
this space?
platform
I'm just
called?
not sure how to make it scale.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like-
it all
Here,
depends.
Thomas.
Like,
No,
if
I'm
you're streaming, then
Good,
that,
man.
that
What's
just
that
becomes
called?
I brought a
it's a
friend of mine
client
in here,
for
so
client.
she's the
Oh,
pianist
awesome.
on
situation,
Cuba's
right?
Oh,
depends
yeah, I
if
started
you
making an
have
account the other day.
internet. I think we can handle
I
it.
mean, I love your piano music,
Love
so.
it if they're
Oh,
playing
that's
mechanics.
all
So
right.
Leah's who I should be complimenting, I
They don't have
suppose. Yeah.
Starlink
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
I think she's
Come
moving
on.
rooms right
It
now,
might
so
be a
that's
little bit
why.
more
I
difficult.
don't know if you're
No
also
worries.
seeing her sort of twisted
There's
up.
not a network
Yeah.
bandwidth that we use up. It really isn't much.
Very cool
All
seeing
of our
that.
audio
I
is
just
one
dropped in
channel,
at
so
the
it's
end of it,
it's just
but,
Oh, yeah, how was
on a
that?
server
All
and
are doing
handed
it.
off, so
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter how many connections you have.
I'll be
Cool.
looking
That's
up the
not gonna
podcast
really
later.
change
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, we're trying to like really develop a
as far as
schedule
our
so that
network
there's just always different
transforms,
things happening in here.
It's not a lot of data
Yeah.
either.
Very
So,
cool.
you
But
know,
nice that
we
it's
can
so
take
interesting
something
and,
like a 2
Yes.
megabyte
I'll
Even
sort of
Thursday
log on
and
sooner
throw
or
it in
later.
there. It would work.
Exactly.
That'd be interesting.
How's
test
everything
to
going with
do
you?
and
How's your
see how
week?
well it went
Good,
for
man.
the
Good.
audience. That'd be cool.
Thank you for
Yeah, we'd love
the
to try
newsletter
it.
shout out.
Oh,
so
of course.
it's
Just
super
send
nice.
us a note.
no, it's
You
going
can
well.
join our Discord if you want.
hey,
You don't have to.
sorry,
do it,
next
but
slide.
if-
Hey, Celia,
if
nice to
send us
meet
a
you.
note,
I'm
we'd
Justin.
be
Cool
happy to
idea.
try
That's,
it.
I actually love.
Hey,
Yeah,
nice
that
to
would be very
meet
cool to
you.
see.
How are
Justin,
you?
Justin,
I
I
can
guess
send
you're
you a
responsible
copy.
for
present
Otherwise,
on
everything
that
is
idea.
sitting on our
Yeah,
website.
I guess I could call myself the host here.
Welcome to this event.
I've always loved the theme music from Cubism. So
Yeah, it's all.
wanted to pass
We
that-
don't have a
pass that
streaming
along.
set up.
there,
We have
so
you can download
they're
the
always
file and
interested
try
in
it out.
new
They don't have a
Thanks. Oh, Thomas actually
CDN
wrote it.
sitting
I
in
just
place for that.
You played it. I see.
We
Oh,
have
that's
CDN,
pretty
but we
cool.
also have
too.
one set that kind of test.
Plays very well.
Well, I think we're good.
I'd be curious to.
And I'm always
try it out.
mindful
See
of
how it
the
run for,
Yeah,
5 minutes or something.
the full event, but
Yeah.
nice to meet
Well,
you.
that-
Yeah,
that
Justin's
was
been
a
building this
problem
app
we
for a
had with
while
our
now,
jurists.
and, how long have you
Where
been hosting
after
them
like
here?
5
Yeah,
In
it's
here,
been
maybe
minutes now, right?
almost 3 months. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
working,
No,
and
that's
it would
really
kind of
cool.
just like repeat
yeah,
and
it's getting
loop
better
on
every
like a
week,
single
and,
frame.
Yeah, slowly but surely it is.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're starting to
and,
add
you
more
know,
groups
it
in
could have been
here.
an issue on our end.
The
I don't
floor
know,
falling
but
bugs
we
theoretically
didn't,
is actually
spend
solved
too
this
much time
week.
on the integration.
Nice, really?
Because
Yeah, it turns
people
out
would
there
try
was
out their
a
package in general.
bug, a memory,
but
a
that
low
was
level
problem
memory
with
leak of
this,
sorts around the Unity
and
to
then it would
collision
fix
detection
Yeah, I was
system.
impacted by the
restart.
number of
And
people who were
apparently,
in the
like on the
space, number
server,
of
once a certain amount of
clients who were
collisions
connected.
happen,
No,
the
it
collider
wasn't
stopped
that.
working. Is what seems to
was
have happened.
based on
The only
just
known,
some sort of
the only
timing
known
loop,
solution for
'cause
that
it
was to
was
upgrade
consistently
our
happening.
engine
I forget what
version,
the timing was.
which
It
was
like every
obviously
10 or 15
terrifying. But
minutes.
we've done that,
And it was
and maybe
timed differently
fixed.
per user.
There's one
So
other
if
thing we may need to
I
do,
came
but
in
it
at
may
minute
just be
10,
fixed.
and someone
The
came
Unity
in at
engine,
minute,
or,
15. It would happen
No,
to me
like
yeah.
multiplayer
first,
framework.
and then it would happen to that other person. 5
The
minutes later.
well, so like our server also runs a copy of the Unity app.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we may have to
Well, we
also
should
update
try,
that. But I think
Right.
one way or another,
There
it's
is some
fixed.
time
That's
when
good
you
to hear.
have a free moment,
Gotcha.
perhaps.
It's all, yeah, Justin is talking about a bug that would happen like every week.
Could
would fall through the
put the
floor.
kind of on our
it was always good. It was good fun. So, like, honestly,
It's a bit fun. And it's
I don't
ready
have
to be
the
done with
content
it, but very
designed
funny.
for this space.
Okay,
per
we're
I didn't know you
se.
did
Yeah,
physics
we
on
could just
on
test
server,
it.
though. That's interesting.
Yeah,
You know,
so
just tried that before.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Going
it's
further,
kind of
that would be
cool.
the easiest
Basically,
thing to
like
do.
the server is
That's all
running
available.
a
We could
very
do that. We could
similar
do that
instance of the
tomorrow,
Unity app that the
Friday,
client's
or whatever,
running.
next week.
Just
That's
over
all.
that.
That's what your
That's
schedule
pretty
is, really.
Yeah,
So, so you have like
think,
server
at the beginning of the week, next
for
week would be
positions
best.
of things and stuff like that.
But, yeah,
Exactly.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
The very real
How
help.
should I
Very
redact
good.
it off?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is your
Excited to
email
hear
on,
that one.
your card here?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, if you
See,
put that,
see all
click
the,
that button,
like,
get business card,
also
you'll get
pins
some
ones.
contact
right.
info of mine.
Yeah.
It
Where's
would be
the
funny,
business
like,
card?
like
Oh,
one person
I
would
didn't
randomly
with the
follow
internet thing
your
your
just to,
email
like,
that
help
you
just,
just
like,
signed
better
up
the
with
players'
with
life,
special
and it's just hard.
Oh,
It was
right.
just
Maybe to like terrify them.
That's
So
hilarious.
there's also
You'll
this
get that email
story
and it'll have
kind
some
of based
contact
game.
info. You just feel free to
Yeah,
reach
that's
out.
a good point.
Business card goes some.
I'm gonna take a look into that. It's actually pretty
What's up,
evenly
everyone?
balanced. 2 games into
How's it going
self-help
today?
games.
Everyone hear me okay?
They're apps.
Yep,
It's a
we can
better
hear you.
word.
Yeah, over here. We did. We adjusted the audio drop off a little bit, so you may gotta get closer than normal. That's okay. Well, so what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna give you a quick update, and then we're gonna invite our new guests up today to do a little bit of intro on themselves, and then we'll break back out and continue what we are doing. So for us on the spatial ape end, let's see what's new. For one, we may or may not have fixed the floor falling bug. We are very optimistic. We definitely know what's causing it, so either this week or next week, I think it'll be fixed. Sorry to you that we're looking forward to that moment of chaos every day in their week or every week. So if you guys may have seen, we're doing podcasts now. So Lunch Hour and VR Verdict are both going to be in here every Thursday. Lunch Hour at the beginning of the event, and VR Verdict at 8 Eastern, which is a bit later. So definitely stop by, say hi to those folks. Over time, we're going to be integrating the event with their show so that you can stop by and give a little update, to their audience of what's going on, which is fun. And that's part of our bigger effort right now to bring together 3 groups. So we already have a great dev community, and what we've heard from a lot of you is that you want to have better access to marketing and PR. So now we're trying to bring more of the marketing and PR folks in here. Next week at 2:30 Pacific, VR Trend is going to have a community managers meetup. So if you want to know about community management or marketing, or you want to recruit someone to do that for you, that's a great event to attend. And then the third thing that we're starting to work really hard on over the next few weeks is group number 3 we want in here, which is investors, because our projects need funding as well as exposure. And so stay tuned for that. You'll be hearing more on the Twitter and the newsletter. But overall, we want to really create this experience where, developers, investors, and marketing and PR are all kind of coexisting and helping each other out in here. And you never know what you're going to find on a Thursday in Spatial Ape. Without further ado, if you have a booth here this week, why don't you come join me up here? Squeak, Smartest, here we go. Is there one more? Oh, Michael, yeah.
And Noah.
Michael, why don't you wait till next week, because we're going to do the whole party thing, and we just thought we'd get it in there early. Yeah, and this is a good time to announce it. We're gonna do some interactive Q&A on the Discord, but Michael's 40th birthday party is happening later this month in Spatial Ape.
Oh, sweet.
Got tons of good stuff planned for that, and we're gonna
thought you had
after this
21,
we're gonna be
Michael.
chatting about it in Discord. What kind of special stuff we can do for Michael on his birthday? So happy early birthday, Michael, and we'll hear more about that later. Cool. Now let's just do what I'm thinking here is just take a minute to introduce yourself, tell us what you're doing, and then folks can come up and ask questions afterwards. Noah, do you want to kick off?
Sure. Hey everyone, can you guys hear me okay? I had an internet issue before, but
yeah.
anyway. Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Noah, Noah Robinson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Variable Help over there. And basically we are building a mental health peer support platform in social VR. So just a quick background is that I have been in VR for a long time, since VR chat in the days when it was like 50 of us meeting like on Sundays or whatever. So for about like 6 years or so. And you know, I'm getting my PhD in clinical psychology at Vanderbilt University. And basically what we're doing is we're training coaches, so lay facilitators, non-professionals, on how to lead groups and deliver evidence-based interventions. So we're trying to democratize access to mental health help. And basically we screen everyone who comes into our community. They attend groups that are structured and led by the coaches, and then they can get help, you know, whenever they need it. And that's kind of the vision. And just for just a brief background is that when I was 13, I basically escaped into virtual world RuneScape, which I'm sure a lot of people know what RuneScape is. I spent like 8,000 hours logged into RuneScape in my teenage years. But also when I was 13, I realized I was gay and I was very depressed and anxious. And so I basically, you know, used worlds like this to escape completely and go into that world. And so the idea is that, you know, games like RuneScape or WoW are built by psychologists as well, designed by psychologists to get people to play more. But what if psychologists could design a world that could actually allow people to escape and then learn coping strategies for the reasons of why they're escaping in the first place? So that's kind of the whole goal of what we're building. And yeah, it's also a clinical research platform. So we collect data, survey data, and lots of other behavioral data. So yeah.
And
Very, very
two
cool.
other things
Thanks,
to
Noah.
add to that. He
Yeah,
has
go
an
ahead.
awesome TEDx talk that you guys should all go listen to, and launching a Kickstarter soon. No,
Oh, yeah.
I know that's coming up in the next couple weeks, so keep your eyes out for that. We'll definitely highlight it in the newsletter.
Yeah, we're using Seed Invest, an equity crowdfunding platform, which is a pretty cool way that instead of selling the product, you're selling ownership in the company, so people can invest and get ownership. So if anyone, that launches, I think, on Monday next week, and if anyone's ever interested in learning about that for their own apps or anything like democratizing investment, it's a very interesting kind of newer area as well. So
Yeah, awesome. Very cool.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, definitely. Wyatt, you guys want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Luis and I met a couple of years ago, and we've been making funny little VR experiences. And what we're really excited to share with you guys today is one that we're hoping to submit to the Oculus Quest store by the end of summer, called Skybinder, which is a... you want to tell them what Skybinder is, Lou?
Yeah, so it's essentially a connected dots game where you complete triangles and come up with a full shape of an object, and you get to sort of send them to the Earth. And it's our first game. We're both coming from like a story and film background, and we decided this time to go full on sort of puzzle game. And we're discovering that we're really liking this game designer and game developer community, and in terms of the kind of information that is out there, and we're really excited to just put a product on the market.
Yeah, and if any of you have experience with Oculus Quest or launching games on Steam, we would love your thoughts, advice, tips, tidbits, because we're really excited, but this is really new for us.
Yeah, we've come up with a few things before in the past. We actually met 2 years ago at a class on making VR experiences at MIT, and we sort of clinging to each other. And since then, we've made a website that helps you write a really good apology. We sort of like parametrized
That's amazing.
the life of an artist who's a friend of ours, so you get to like see her paintings, but then go to her studio and see her live in VR. we've made a music making app that helps you sort of figure out what's the music that matches your emotional tone and sort of go through like meditation steps. So we're all we're trying to do is like things that make you feel good.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
And that's us. We're Maku.
Awesome. We'll look forward to hearing more about that. Squeaks and Smartest, what do you got?
Okay, so I'm Squeaks. He goes by Smartest, and we run a company with probably the worst name ever made. And the thing is that we aren't exactly professionals in the field. If anything, we're kind of the opposite. It's like our first real game that we're working on. It's called Sub-Zero Remastered, and it's based off of various other games that we've played and made before this that haven't been in VR yet. This is like our first time attempting that. But the idea is that we want to make something that takes all these things that we liked and expands on them and brings them to their full potential within VR, which is something that even the original game's ports didn't actually do.
Yes, we're not entirely new to VR experiences in general. We worked on our own small, fun little projects, and that all started about 2018 when we first met, thanks to an art sharing website, and we've just been having a lot of fun ever since. One thing we like to do is look at games we enjoy and take some aspects from it and see what we would have done or what we would like different.
Yeah.
And then apply it to our own experiences.
It's basically what we've been doing so far, at least.
Awesome. We can't wait to ask you guys about it. Should we do a t-shirt? Might as well. All right.
Oh my God! What?
Okay. All right.
That's amazing.
So Noah and other folks that are new here, this is a ritual of ours. And if you catch the shirt, we will send one to your house.
Oh my God! What? That's so cool.
Okay. All right. Hands up. That's how this works. Need to see some excitement. Doesn't fire without it. All right. Okay. And who's got it? Oh, no one. All right. Another one coming. Another one coming.
No.
Another one.
Oh dear.
Hey,
Robert.
Robert. There
Nice.
you go, Robert. You don't already have one, do you, Robert?
Congrats.
Okay.
He's so
It
happy.
took me just like 100 sessions to get one.
Yes. Yeah, good for
Finally
you. You
paid
earned
off.
it, man. Okay.
Well
All right.
done.
Well, everyone enjoy and thanks for coming.
That's so fun.
So now you can sort of go to the booth you want to and
Hey, Christoph.
check out the project.
So, Robin, I wanted to ask you a little bit
Super
about
cool.
Spatial
How are you?
8
Nice.
because I'd love to
We're gonna check out
advertise it
this,
to my
I saw
community.
walking around.
Visit, check out. So
Yeah. I was noticing you use a
background
tag of
and
Chris
what you
Watts.
guys do. I've been to a
I
couple of
looked up
sessions.
Chris Watts on the internet.
And it
wasn't you,
seems
it was
like
someone
you're
else.
a platform
my
that
problem is that my
invites
last name
new
is so complicated
VR
to be pronounced
entrepreneurs
anywhere in the world, except
to
for
come
Germany.
and
So when I was in Asia,
show off
everyone tried
their
to
concepts.
say the word.
Yeah,
Forza,
that's a really
the German
good
one.
description.
But
It
everything
started.
that came out there was
It
something
started
like
last
word,
year,
word,
just the
word,
end of
word,
last year in
whatever.
Alt
And I said,
Space.
"What? That's okay." So
And the
everyone
format
knows
was very
it.
similar
You
to
know
this.
who
You
you're
would
talking about. So I said
you would
Chris
get
Watts is
2 or 3
quite
people
okay for
presenting, and they would come with their projects or their
Interesting, because
ideas.
I
Quite
looked up
often they'd
Chris
be
Watts
developers,
in
and
Google,
quite often
and the
they
first
would
one I
be
found was some kind of a
artists
convicted
or,
murderer who's in prison.
or kind of
Yeah, that
I thought, oh
people
my
that had
goodness.
a concept or
That's
even
interesting.
further down the line with a project
so.
they'd released, and they were hoping
Interesting
to
reference.
get people interested.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
you've been
And
coming to these
since
to
then,
these sessions,
the
these
major
meetups.
thing that's changed is we've
from the beginning,
gradually built
you know,
out this
we started
environment.
out- They started in
Um,
Alt Space.
And people
last
from the
year.
community have joined in. I joined.
and
I started
saw
coming
that
along to
and I
these
thought
events every
it's
week,
a
and then
great opportunity
I started helping
to
out with some of the
get
coding,
in contact
and
with
now
other
I'm
people.
kind of doing it on a
And
part-time
then they
basis,
went
helping
over
out
here
with the
for the last
Unity
half year or
development
something.
in this
So I
environment.
attended
So it's
all
really
of
cool
them.
to see the community
Wow.
developing, and
well,
also
yeah,
learn
dedicated.
about all these cool projects.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good
Well,
opportunity.
very
We
good.
also
So,
have some stuff
how
in
do
Germany,
people
but,
typically find out about you?
Well, it's yeah. It's not that
Do you mean
close.
how do they find out
It's
about
not so many
the
different
projects, or
companies
do they, how do they find out about Spatial 8?
Spatial 8. Yeah, like I said, I kind of
someone presenting his
inadvertently
work,
came
you
across
talk,
it.
you can
Yeah.
really
It tends to be a mixture. I think a lot of people, like you, find it on Twitter. Like there's, we've got quite an active Twitter presence, I guess, and people tend, to be honest, a lot of it is word of mouth, as far as I can tell. It seems like the community has started off with maybe 10 or so really core members, and has since grown to probably 20 or 30 people that you see regularly.
Was this good, huh?
And
Okay.
it just keeps growing. So I think I'm very bullish about the future, because I think that it's a really good community. It's kind of all professionals, all people that believe in VR as a
This seems to
industry,
work fairly well
and
over a reasonable
have created
bandwidth.
some of the coolest things I've seen in VR, and keep coming back. So
When I'm at home,
I'm
I don't
excited
have a
about
great
the
connection.
future, to be
So
honest.
far, so good.
Well, that's very cool. So do people reach out to you directly when they want to come and use you for a platform or a showcase?
I mean,
Yeah, it tends to be either people
Growing
coming to us and
pains.
saying, can we have a
But the
booth,
sound
or
is
can
good.
we showcase our thing?
And
But
Indeed.
most of the time, it's just people turning up to the events
is, yeah.
and getting,
Do you-
chatting
do you,
and finding
use
out
Outspace
what
yourself?
kind of thing they do, and then it's very
No,
easy
no,
for them
not,
to submit some assets
I've heard
and
of it.
maybe
I've
a
never actually
video,
been in there.
and then we put together a
How
booth,
is it?
and then they talk about their
It's
booth.
not bad.
So
I mean,
yeah, if you
for example, if you're interested, I don't know if you
work sort of
do you know Burning
summary or
Man?
share your thoughts, and
So they're
I'm
doing
sure
it,
that we could put together a booth.
Last year they did it, and this year they're doing it in Outspace.
Oh, great. Yeah,
Because
thanks very much.
kind of built up
I definitely want to go back to my
Hey there.
community and kind of
Yep.
advertise this a
Is
little
the-
bit and let
is
people
the
know,
physical
hey, you
event
need to drop
canceled
by
again?
and check this out. Definitely something
yeah, it's
that
this
you
year
should go
it's half
explore. And
But
I'm
they
sure we
want
would have some
people
folks there, some developers,
because
some
they
platforms
canceled
who would
it,
love
they
to come
canceled
and
it, and then
talk to you
COVID
about getting
got better, and then they wanted to start
Awesome,
it
yeah.
again, but
Like I said, there's
all
a
the
guy called Jimmy that
organization
comes in
and
here,
blah
who I
and
think
stuff
would
and there.
definitely be
So
interested
they're
in
going
talking
to do
about
it
that.
again
And
in
I mean, everyone
virtuality,
that
in
comes in here
Outspace,
is
and they're building
working
boats there,
and
where
in
they have
not
their
necessarily
cameras
in
where
VR,
people
but
will-
around
And-
VR. So there's
but right. VR is
Other
a
crossover.
career of sorts, even if it's making
Yeah.
stuff for VR.
That'd be interesting.
exactly, yeah.
See it
Right.
there.
But yeah,
We'll
that's
have to all
that's
drop some
great.
acid
I
and
mean,
put on our
it's
headsets, I
really
guess.
you guys have done a tremendous job
I
here.
mean, it's really cool.
Yeah,
this
thanks.
community.
It's
It's
there's still some
very
bugs, and it's a work in
Ah,
progress,
yeah,
and
I've
it's
heard- I've
very
never actually
early
gone.
days, but it's
Mhm.
really
But,
coming together, I think.
You plan to start
Since we're about 5 minutes from another coronavirus disaster,
offering it
seems
through
like we're about to hit
SideQuest
another
or App
challenging
Lab or
period.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
progression, we've kind of
Well,
started down that
We just
path
went down.
of
We
progression
went
from we're
we
on
went down
SideQuest
and
and
down,
App
and
Lab
now
will
we're
be
way down the
coming
bottom,
soon,
and then
we get
already
to,
it's
once
been
you
like
got
2
a foot in the
weeks,
door with
it's gone up.
Facebook, hopefully
Yeah.
the whole
Already with this new
Facebook
Delta
store,
thing,
the Oculus
so-
store discussion will come up.
I don't know.
Oh,
and
well.
then
Had a
maybe
very
Steam
hard
and
lockdown in
whatever
France
beyond that.
for a while.
But
Right, for
we're building
PS3,
slowly.
Yes, but you also had some
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
ones too, didn't you?
awesome.
And you guys
I have
follow the
some.
rules somewhat better than we do.
Well,
somewhat.
yeah.
So where do
And
your
you
community
also
tend to hang out?
you also broadcast
killed off a lot
regularly,
of
right? I mean, this
businesses
is
here,
the
so they
the
really
camera up
didn't
here.
allow for smaller
Because I think
shows.
I've
broadcast
caught a
every
couple
week.
of them.
A
Yeah,
lot of small businesses
couple of
went
shows
down.
online.
It's really, really horrible.
Yeah, we broadcast every week on Twitch. We just have this camera
The
guy
same
that
stuff
floats
like
around
that.
and films whatever's
You know, they
being
won't
talked
walk
about.
around
And then
well,
more recently, we've had podcasts and kind of shows.
I see that.
itself.
I wasn't familiar with Lunch Hour, but I'm very familiar.
Well,
I
it's
listen
been
to VR
difficult for
Break.
everyone. Your sound has gone.
Yeah, it's great to see
disappeared
them,
again,
those
but
guys in here.
it
It's
was
nice to
difficult
have
for
some
everyone, that's for sure.
some professionals doing it.
Great. I mean, I guess you imagine really building this
for
up
you
even
guys, I
further, where
guess
you were going to
you
have
could work.
maybe a couple of dozen booths, huh?
Which
Yeah,
part?
the big push now is to
Programming.
make it easier for people to bring
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
content
our work
and
is
other people
going, 'cause
into
you're
the
doing
space. As
on-set
you see, we've
stuff,
got these
on-
booths
on
here, but
stage
they
stuff, aren't you?
currently are
Yeah,
built
that
by
was,
us manually, and that's
challenging.
It's not
Yeah.
hugely labor intensive,
Yeah,
but it's obviously not the best way of doing it.
I mean,
so in the future,
socially,
we're
it's
going
different,
to
but in terms
build
of
out
work,
the
it's-
automation
for
of
us,
that,
it's
so
the
that
same.
people
People are
can log
sitting
up,
there
sign up for the
developing by
website,
themselves,
and
a little further
they
apart
can
now
drop
than
their
they used to,
assets
but
into
it's the same. It's
into a
not a big-
form, or
big
even
difference.
just
But
view
of
them
course,
on the
clients,
web, and then create a
for
booth
them, of course.
themselves,
We do it-
which
we
they
do
can just
some
press a button in
captures,
VR, and it'll
and
start
for that we
displaying
have,
their
the usual
their
rules.
project to the world.
We don't do a
and,
lot of
once
capture
that
work
Yeah,
process
that's-
is
development.
very
Right.
simple, very quick, I think
That's
that'll be great.
still doable. people.
That's awesome.
And, some of
Yeah,
us
I'm
have,
anxious to get the
kids,
word
and
out
if
to
you have
my
kids, then
to my
even when
group
you're
so that they'll
confined, it's kind of the same.
check you
just go
guys
home
out.
anyways because
Yeah, that would be great.
kids are sitting
Whereabouts
there,
do your
so-
group usually hang out?
So we'll see.
Well, like I said, we have our main community on Facebook, and then I also run a YouTube page, and we have the Twitter account.
Captures because they are
Um,
building those.
We mainly
berries.
explore things. So one of the things I
Yeah.
might work out with
People-
you is
Just
maybe
for this-
we'll pick a specific day, one of your Thursdays,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we can have some of our productivity or meeting and
Well-
collaboration vendors put up booths, and make that kind of
sounds
a XR for work day.
I'll have to check it out.
And
Yeah.
people can go and check
Note that
out,
down somewhere.
you know, Remio and Be Spatial
notepad here,
and
like, to
Immersed,
take notes
and
on.
maybe
That
have
would be
some of those
useful.
guys coming in and
Pull off my headset,
and tell about
change
their
apps.
products.
Yeah, in
Oh,
my
on my
experience,
phone,
that's
maybe.
the best way to do it. When you have a
Mhm.
community that are all focused around a similar idea, having different people come in and at least very similar in terms of concept, in terms of type
Mhm.
of talk, then people are much more likely to engage. We had only
Your
a couple of
sound's
weeks ago,
gone,
we
yeah.
had a hardware meetup where a guy called
things are coming,
Lucas
going sometimes.
building
Mhm.
these amazing
Well, still work in progress.
these
Well,
amazing
email myself.
gloves for like really cheap gloves that you can make yourself and allow you to have haptic
Yeah,
feedback.
I
all
saw
those-
that guy on.
Oh really? Oh cool.
Yeah. Well, I think they did a story on him
Let's see here.
on YouTube somewhere. I've seen him.
Space for
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes in here quite frequently. He's an amazing guy, and he did
That's
a
a-
talk,
that's
and he also brought people from his community in
We'll
as
have
well,
to
and they
check
did
that
talks
out.
as well, and it's a really nice event.
What they are preparing at the moment.
Okay, great. Well, this
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I'll definitely pursue this with you, Robin.
know
I'll
which
go
people
back
who were
and
there?
start talking it up with the group,
Last year,
and maybe we'll try to
was
figure out a
always
good time in the
a
next,
huge,
couple months or so,
huge benefit.
and
That
try to
sounds good, yeah.
coordinate that.
Maybe
Yeah, I'll
If
see.
you click on my head and
Okay.
click get business
You know
card,
what
it will
now?
send me your
I don't know
it
if
will
it
send
will be
you
the
my
same
email
this
address, or it should do
Oh,
anyway.
fantastic! Yeah.
There are also
So
some
drop me
camps
an
that
email,
stay
and
the
we
whole
can
year.
talk.
There is one camp I'm also visiting.
Now, where does this
for
business
video
card
games,
go?
and we are trying to
I
do
think it
something
gets
like
emailed to whatever
shooting
email
movies
address
in
you
VR.
signed up with.
Okay.
So it should just get
Really?
sent to your
Interesting.
inbox.
Perfect. Now,
That's quite
do
cool.
I have a contact card attached?
more like experience.
I've just tried and you don't, which I
Yeah.
think means that you haven't
They're meeting
set up a about me.
Oh,
What it does
I
is
need
it
to go-
sends your about me to the email address.
Gotcha.
Well,
So
check
if you
it
log
out
onto the
then.
website
Okay.
and edit
Yeah,
your
I will do
profile,
that.
you'll be able to
Excellent
add
idea.
that, and then people will be able to get your business card as well.
Where did I go? Here I am.
Perfect. I'll go do that.
There I am.
Robin, thanks a bunch.
Cool.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I will
I
definitely
bumped
get
into
you
yeah,
that
Rick, it was nice to meet you.
Direction.
information. So we'll
That's awesome.
exchange
I mean, let's
contact
check out
information,
booths.
and we'll start
Yes, that
thinking
is-
about
exactly.
how we can maybe
No
plan a little
boundaries.
event in here.
Fantastic.
Have a
Yeah,
look.
it was really nice to meet you, Rick.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll be back around.
Let's have a look.
Take
Let's
care.
see now what's here.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
There's Sub-Zero. Yeah, workout. Maku.
Well,
we're all back.
Just gotta wait till all the
I've got a new
models load in again.
collider.
Oh my gosh.
Ta-da.
Really does a number
Congratulations.
on your stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
you never
Yeah,
know
that's also
what
cool.
form I'm going to appear under.
Not too bad. I mean,
I've also.
so yeah, this is a new feature. You have to enter a quarter, and then you will be lifted up 10 centimeters.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I see regular eyes.
Oh, really?
So like, so
I'm gonna
yeah,
take a
I don't know.
screenshot of this
Everybody looks. Can you send that to me later?
Yeah, well.
I've fallen through the floor 2 times, and I've been ultra tall today, so it's been an adventure.
Wow. 2 times.
See?
That's extreme. Well. Yeah. No. No.
Finally.
Mm-hmm.
Probably stuff in there that they can actually, if someone wanted the terrain engine, so I guess it will be a this salvaging thing where everybody tries to take out of it what they need, and I don't really think that they will be able to get the Linux version running in a decent amount of time. So
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, this open source thing today, I mean, what open source is real open source? Because you have so many different parts sometimes that are not really open source as far as I know. It's a pain to sort out which stuff you can really use somehow.
Well, I mean, they released it under the Apache license, as far as I understand, so you can use it, and there are a lot
The whole
of
code.
industry players. As far as I understand, yes. I mean, I didn't look through all the licenses, so I mean, I just looked at it on my phone, so it's not really. But it looks like there is a lot of stuff that you can actually use and spec'd by a lot of big industry players, but I can't imagine that they are really keeping up the effort to keep it good. So I mean, what Blender did, I mean, they really did the job, because they when it still was not a number, the owner of Blender, they basically did the same thing. So they open sourced it because they didn't see a path forward. Then the community bought it from the Not a Number Foundation, and it was a community, and gave it to the community, and then they put in an incredible amount of effort to actually make it what it is now. And if
Over years.
Yeah, over years. And if you're not keeping up that effort, then it will simply wither and die. So.
Definitely. I mean, Blender is for sure. There's this video out there on YouTube that shows the whole development there, and it's really amazing how Tom Rosendahl, I think is his name, how he fighted to get this thing out and to get this charity action to get enough money to buy it from the investors for some money in the end. And for sure, I mean, a tool like Blender needs tons of developers, but sure, they have won. They were the first ones, in my opinion, that really went open source and stayed on instead of dropping it. So in this case, they have won. Yeah, for sure.
And they are still winning. So I mean, this is the fight is not over. So that's
No. But I mean, with open source, there's always this point like, now that they're that big, and now that they're getting all the attention also from the big players like NVIDIA and the hardware guys as well, that's what they needed in the end, to have all the support. Now it's getting hard for all the other companies, because who is going in 5 years, who's going to compete with Blender? I don't think that the guys from Autodesk or anyone else will be able to keep up with that pace. How should they?
I mean, I think the Blender Autodesk issue, that's a fight that's been going on for years, and I mean that's not going to end anytime soon. So I mean, Autodesk, it's like the same as with Windows. I mean, you have the Linux as an alternative, which works. I mean, for most regular people, it doesn't matter if you run Windows, a Mac OS, or Linux, because you run your browser, you run, and that's it. I mean, and still most people use Windows simply because it's. I mean, they know it from their company. They know it from. The target audience isn't exactly the same. So, and I think the same is going to be for Blender Autodesk. The thing is that, I mean, if Autodesk doesn't try to actually keep up, then they are going to fall behind. So that's definitely I mean,
and that's the point. Can they keep up with the pace and the amount? Because if Blender is getting out and telling people, guys, we need solutions for this and that, they have 1 million developers, or I don't know how many, that are really contributing stuff, and Autodesk doesn't have that. And this amount, this sheer, I mean, the good thing for Autodesk is they can look it up. They can look it up and see, oh yeah, well let's mimic this. No problem. They could steal
I mean, I think that what Autodesk has on their side is they have players who paying big bucks and they get the features they want. So if you're someone who's invested in Autodesk and you say I need this feature, then they sit there and that's simply not happening with Blender, because obviously you can find someone who does that, but it's not that easy. If you go to Autodesk and you're paying your not sure how much, but if you're a huge payer, then they will implement the feature for you. So it's like this Swiss cheese. You have some features that others don't have because someone paid for it, and they made exactly that. But it's not this overall built thing. So
that's right. I mean, when I take it from the side that we had with building virtual studio systems for TV stations, for example, right? I always told my guys, like, there was huge development behind that, hardware and software in the end. And we always had the big players, the big TV networks from HBO Asia to whatever CCTV in China and they were using that stuff. But still, I always told them, guys, take a look at the smaller ones, because the big ones, okay, they will be there. But the point is, when they purchased it, when they used it, they will not get a new version every 2 years or whatever kind of stuff. You know, they're settled, they will do their stuff, and maybe they will, for 5 years, they don't need you. And you have a very limited amount of big stations in the world. But the smaller ones, the YouTubers, blah, blah, getting more and more and more and more and more, and they're eating away the attention of the big players.
Yeah.
So take a look at this. They didn't do that, and now there are other players on the market that they did that. Right? So in this case, it's really hard. I mean, I guess from the when you take it from the user side, when someone is doing 3D stuff, I guess people will definitely start with Blender because they say this is a quite professional tool. It's for free. I can do anything with this. There's no limitation anymore. And then going to a tool that is that expensive. Well, if you have to do it because your company says we are working with Maya and nothing else, well, you will have to do that, yes. If you are contributing to them, yes. But on the other hand,
it depends. It depends where you're coming from. I mean, if you talk to Melle, she's on the Fachhochschule, and they didn't start out with Blender. They start out with the industry standard software, which is changing. I mean, it's if you do the same thing in 3 to 4 years, that is probably exactly the opposite. So that we'll start out with Blender, and if you need something more, something specific, then you go that route. But it depends on where you're coming from. If you're coming from an indie, like you have those alternative routes where people start developing games without formal game development education, which is strange that this is even a thing because back in my day it wasn't. Then they will probably start with Blender, obviously, because it's free and you can do everything. And
Well, I think that for educational purposes as well, for the schools it's not a big deal because they get it almost for free. You know, that's the thing Autodesk did. They said, let's get all the new developers, get them in there, and later on they will have to purchase it. Yeah, okay, well, it worked for them. There's no doubt about that. And they hadn't got that much competition. There was Cinema 4D, that was a bit cheaper. There was Houdini, that is very special. And Lightwave. I was starting on my Amiga's Lightwave, yay, in 1994 or stuff like that. And yeah, it was cool, it was nice, and everything's okay. At that time, you had to pay. But again, today, I guess that's because also the features are so similar, right? When you compare a Blender feature to a Maya feature, whatever, you will always more or less do the same stuff because the technology in the background. You know, Autodesk has nothing, in my opinion, on technology that the others don't have, that you couldn't understand or whatever. It's just the other way of putting it together, workflow or whatever, and you can learn, if you understood the background, why are you doing that? You will adopt Blender in, I mean, some weeks or stuff.
Yeah. And simply the flexibility. I mean, there is just, they can do so much more. I mean, the resources are there, and I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what Maya, what the scripting engine in Maya is, but I mean, Blender back in the day having Python was kind of like a bit of novelty, but it really paid off. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I just remember when Maya came out, it was they were on the German market. It was so heavy that the way that they went into the market, they were telling everyone like Maya is the standard in Hollywood. So you have to take Maya because this is the best. Everyone in Hollywood is using it. Bullshit. I mean, like Pixar guys, we had some Pixar guys over on the meeting, and we asked them. We had a Maya fanboy there. He was dressed in Maya clothing, Maya hat, Maya clothes, Maya T-shirt, Maya bag, and he was asking about Maya. And there was a TD from Pixar who did Ratatouille at that time, or before that he did Ratatouille. And he asked them like, "What are you guys doing with Maya?" And he looked at him and was laughing, and he said, "Well, almost nothing, because we have our own tools. And you know, the stuff that is in Maya came from our tools, like subdivision surfaces and stuff like that was invented by Pixar and then bought or whatever used by, you know, Autodesk and stuff like that. So in this case, yeah. But you know, in Germany, all the people thought like, oh yeah, we have to buy Maya. And then it turned out that, well, I hated that program from the beginning. I had so many issues. Yeah, really. Because the MEL scripting language, everyone told us, like, if you have a problem and something is not working, 3 lines of MEL. Take 3 lines of MEL, everything will work. Yeah, bullshit. You know, trying to do that with 3 lines of MEL. It's really like, but you know, that was the sales guys. They were really, they did that perfectly.
Yeah,
Yep, see ya, man.
See you guys.
I read on Hacker News a while ago an interesting article about someone working on for I think it was Sun. I mean, he was the guy in Australia who did like some debugging stuff. He created some scripts and for Sun systems and had this basically had this dtrace. I think it was called dtrace, the dtrace library, and he was like. His company, someone told, yeah, there is this guy from Sun who's the guru for detracing and stuff, and he's doing basically on his world tour, and he goes to all those big companies and shows off his stuff, and so, and he was like, yeah, I was really starstruck from now he's coming to, and then he was there, and then he realized that they actually used his open source code, repackaged it as a tool. Had the same bugs in there, and even an older version which had bugs in there which he already fixed, and they were selling it as like this is the big new thing. So,
yeah, awesome.
I mean, that's the thing of closed source. I mean, you can do anything, and you can sell shit and wrap it in Christmas paper, and it looks like something great.
Probably, definitely. Yeah. I mean, in the end, everyone. I mean, this is the other side of open source is who's really earning money with it. Community is great, sure, but people have to earn money.
Yeah.
When you're programming all the time on Blender, who's paying your rent? I mean, how does money come back?
I mean,
Well,
at the
how
moment
do they
it
do
looks
with
like
Blender?
Well, Blender is a bit of a I think it's a bit of a unicorn in a way because not many companies can do that. I mean, the first thing was buying the code from Not a Number was a community effort. So people paid. It was actually like crowdfunding to get the source code open source. Then they had all those projects. So they were creating those little movies, which transformed the development. So they created a movie, and then for the movie they advanced whatever they needed, and then they sold that. So basically, by selling the movies and books and stuff, they actually got things. Then they have a lot of funding, like I'm sure Google and all those companies are donating stuff. So it's a mixture of donations, selling content, and having freelancers. Yeah, that's I think.
Right.
Yeah. Some people are definitely earning money that no doubt from this Blender Foundation. That's right. But I guess there are a lot of contributors that will never make money with it. Okay, as a community, sure, why not? But in the end, when you're really calculating it as a developer and all the time that you're investing in your life into open source projects where you don't get money, this will be missing for you on your plate in the end when you're old, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there should be something like a system, this NFT stuff, this NFT token stuff, you know, where artists are getting money from those tokens, and every time the token is sold, they get again a share. I mean, stuff like that should be implemented in this open source software environments somehow.
I mean, yeah, there is for content and stuff. There is already a lot of work done in Blender Market and Blender Foundation. So there is. I think we are slowly progressing towards something where people. I mean, I used to use almost only open source stuff and expect stuff to be free. And now I'm older. I'm accepting the fact that some stuff has to cost something because someone had to make it, and I'm happy to pay that. So I think there is some money changing the hands. For code itself, I think it's for open source code itself, it's hard to actually make money out of it. You can make out money out of the product you're producing out with that code, but really the code itself is not really something you can sell if you're an open source. You can sell support. I mean, Red Hat did that quite successfully.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. Yeah, it's. This is going to be interesting for the future, I guess, because now, today, I guess you this idea of open source, you cannot get rid of this anymore. This is too big now. There's no way to go away from that, in my opinion. So.
There's also an element of critical mass, right? Like, once you reach critical mass, even as an open source tool, then, well, not only will people then maybe be able to or be willing to pay for support and things, but like even big companies might start investing in expanding the feature sets that they want, right? Like, wasn't Apache like a big example of that? Like, like famously open source, and then actually like there was dedicated teams from like I don't know, Google or Microsoft or whatever, also like developing it. It's just hard to get to that point. But I guess like open sourcing is one way to grow that critical mass of usage, ideally, right? But
definitely. I mean, OpenGL, like the whole Kronos Group stuff. You know, if you would pull this out, it's almost anywhere in there today.
But OpenGL isn't open source, isn't it? It's just it has the name open in it, but it's not really open source. I mean, it's kind of like in the Kronos Group is. I mean, they are really like tight knit, so it's not really what I would expect from an open source thing. Because I was talking to Bastian Oli from the Godot engine, and he's working on the OpenXR. And they aren't really allowed to talk about what's going on there. So that's not what open source should be.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. I mean, when you read what the Kronos Group is, anyways, in that case, it's like BMW and VW and blah blah, and everyone is just sitting on the same table and doing whatever. So that would be open source, or whatever community. Yeah, it's an interesting attempt, definitely. Well, yeah. So everyone is gone already?
I think
We are always the last ones.
11:30. It's
Even
early in the
if
morning.
if we are the wrong time zone, we are
started
always the last
earlier.
ones.
Yeah.
Are we all the Europeans?
You guys are not dedicated.
Yeah.
That's it. Everybody's out for afternoon tea or lunch.
There should be a way to actually take over this server when we are only
Exactly.
when only we are there.
That's it.
Exactly.
You quick put up your model or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think I mean I was so tempted. I mean this uploading your own model. I'm pretty sure Justin will have to find a way to moderate it quite soon, because I was so tempted to fuck with it and actually make something that's so big that it's empty in the center and then moves through all the booths. So
What if? I would love to see the model of this area uploaded
Oh,
there
it's still
and
not.
see what happens.
Still
like,
possible.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can. If you have it on your website, you can also preview it there. It stays.
Okay.
It's not going to be kicked out.
I thought it was kind of soft locked also.
Nice.
What is soft locked?
Yeah,
The
something
space.
like for moderation,
there
like
it
you
is.
mentioned,
Awesome.
that you can kind of lock it so that during the stream or so nobody else can
I mean, you could
play around with
you could add like make human models without clothes and then have them walk around the stream. So that's what I meant. They have now the podcast in there which have an audience which is live
Nice.
streamed, and so that's something that's screaming for someone to fuck with it.
Well, I'm mainly worried about the floor bug when it comes to the podcast. Like that would be pretty bad.
That's
if,
true, yeah.
Mid
That's true.
recording or something. It seems to have gone pretty well before. I only caught the tail end of it, but
Yeah, but you know that stuff lasted for half an hour or stuff like that, or 40 minutes, and it mostly starts after an hour 10 minutes or stuff like that. Then people.
yeah,
are
it seems
starting
like
to-
it. Huh?
Yeah, something.
What I don't understand is why even have the server do the physics. I mean, it's not a game, so it doesn't really matter
That seems like
that's
something you
what I
would do
don't
for a
understand.
shooter or something, right? Like,
I mean, it's perfect. It's perfectly fine if the client does the physics and just sends the position and that's it.
Sure. But I mean, they're using that pre-built environment from Unity, and I guess this is just set it up like that.
Yeah.
I guess you cannot change that somehow, and then it depends where this collider is not reacting to any whatever kind of collision is in this collection. Fire up or not fire up or stuff like that. So this is really strange.
controversial idea. What if there were no collisions? Like, you would have to just horizontally design the space, I guess. But I mean, that's kind of the case, right? Like, why not?
I mean, in my case, in MVRKY, I obviously don't have any collisions. You can't really move around, but there is no floor or anything. You just at the height you are, and that's it. I mean, there isn't really a point of doing physics or anything.
I mean, here would be the same here. Just fix the position of the headset, take it, and make your transitions. That's
can't have.
But then you couldn't move up the stairs. You couldn't move up the stairs there.
Yeah, well, you can teleport.
But I mean, there's nothing up there. So.
But wait, you could somehow, you could make a trigger.
I fixed above the floor. You could have a fixed height above the floor. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, good trigger and then just put in 0
Doom.
point. Blah.
You have just 2.5D. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And
when you go up,
calculate that.
that's what you can do. When you go up the stairs, you just lower the world. Honestly,
nice idea.
that's actually at my previous job. We were making like software for architects, and we had this room you could go up in where you could see like a small scale version of the building you were visiting. And also because of physics, I think like if you were to just scale the actual model when you're looking at the scale model, teleporting down was very inaccurate, like raycasting onto this like tiny model. So what we would do is actually, when you grab the model and rotate it and scale or whatever, everything else would scale, but the model would be static, if that makes sense. So, but relatively, it looks like you're moving the model, but actually, you're moving everything else, and it kind of works pretty well, surprisingly well, actually.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, that's
It's a little
exactly
weird
what
to
I'm
see it
doing.
in the Unity scene, but
That's exactly what I'm doing with the multiplayer, because when you are not the center, I'm moving everything away from you, so you stay at 0 and everything else moves away
Just
from you.
pushed away. Yeah.
interesting, yeah. Yeah, it's the way to do it.
But it's really a pain in the ass to get right. So currently I only have 180-degree turns, because if I have some other angles, then it's kind of I just haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, you would need some landmarks or stuff to orient on and to know where you are. Yeah.
But what's even more problematic is the audio, because I now have because you now have audio chat in MVRKY, but the way I do it is so fucked up, because I'm actually running a Jitsi client in the background in the browser. So
really?
Wow.
Yeah. I set up a Jitsi server, and since I have a web view and a background running for the YouTube player, I also have basically just the Jitsi web client, and it's controlled via WebSocket. So I'm controlling the JavaScript thing, and it tells the web page to connect to the Jitsi client. And the cool thing is, it doesn't really make sense, but the cool thing is that you can actually listen into a multiplayer session by just going to the Jitsi server and entering the room number and joining with your browser.
That's actually awesome. That's really
so
cool.
it could be interesting for streamers, but I'm not really sure if it's really useful.
That sounds interesting for hackers.
Yeah, for example. Do you have synchronization issues or stuff, or does it work well?
Right.
Well,
sound in.
You mean for the multiplayer game or for the audio?
Yeah, for the game.
Well, it doesn't really matter, because you are playing you see the others, but you're playing you're playing your own cues. So even if it's not perfectly synchronized, your stuff works, and you're only playing for points. So there may be a lag that you're above, before, or behind, but doesn't really matter. So that's fortunate. It will become a problem when I finally get around to implement the battle mode in multiplayer, so that you actually have to attack the player and then it has to be synchronized. But for now, it doesn't really matter. Because it would be hard. Because of the audio thing, then theoretically you could even pause and then finish your stuff later. So it's not really supported, but it would work, and it's not really useful. But yeah.
I see. Oh, that's cool.
Thinking, what else can you run in the browser in the background? It's such an interesting.
Actually,
way.
I have a lot of things that I'm thinking about. It's going to be a bit trickier. I have this crazy idea of actually having a non-VR version of MVRKY that you can actually multiplayer with VR players, so that that you have like those fitness apps where you are tracked, you have body tracking, but on your phone, and that you would actually control the avatar in the game, because you don't have to run around. You're basically staying in your same spot, so it doesn't really matter too much. But you would be in the same multiplayer session as VR players. So